Good morning, Steve Weber here, the host of the American Gumption Morning Show, broadcasting on Spirituality Gone Wild and also on the American Gumption Facebook page and American Gumption YouTube channel. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Spirituality Gone Wild and the American Gumption project, American Gumption Morning Show. Alrighty, so today is Thursday, March 4th, and show number 137, 137. There you go. So today, Stacy King, he returns to the American Gumption Morning Show. Stacy was here back on February 9th, I believe, February 9th. Yeah, it was almost a month ago. And we talked about his journey in post-traumatic stress disorder, serving in the military, getting out of it, just launching right into his career, and then finally crashing and burning, and then finally getting the help. And so anyway, he's going to return today. We're not going to talk about that stuff. We talked about that last time. We're going to talk about being a project management professional, a PMP, project management stuff, and my monologue is called Projects, appropriately enough. That'll be coming up in just a minute after the announcements. And then we also have Serenity Sam joining us today for her sing-a-song. And she did this a couple of weeks ago, and we were testing it out to see how it's going to, if it's going to become a regular part of our feature. So anyway, Sam will join us again today, and that'll be about 15 past the hour to half past. And then Stacy King comes and joins us from 10:30 or from for the second half hour of the show. There you go. For the second half hour of the show, we'll be talking project management with Stacy King. So that's coming up. Serenity Sam in the next 15-minute segment after the monologue. All right, monologue is called Projects. Now, tomorrow, Jay Toops, he returns. Last Friday, we talked about the whole idea of turning waste carbons into alcohols, cleaner burning, stronger fuels, alcohol fuel. And it's a great idea. And, he's got a big project. So anyway, we're going to dig back into that. We kind of laid out the big picture last Friday. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the technology challenges. He says there's none. There's got to be a few. We'll talk about how the technology works. But really the bigger issue is, do we have the political and social will to make this happen? It's not something that's happening in mass production now, but it's something that certainly could and is a potentially a great solution to both our pollution and to energy needs that we have. So anyway, that's tomorrow. Jay Toops. Waste carbons to alcohol fuels and chemicals. Alrighty, so that's Friday. And then next week on Tuesday, Angie LaRue returns for the third time to the American Gumption Morning Show. And we'll be talking crystals, advanced healing, and all stuff quantum. So this is a woo alert. If you like the woo, you want to be here. And if the woo is too weird for you, well, then, you're being warned. So that's next Tuesday, Angie LaRue. Alrighty. That's, I think, it. Let's go ahead and shift gears and let's go ahead and launch right into the monologue. And again, I'm just going to, with inspiration from Stacy coming up at half past the hour, I just decided to give my idea of projects because I'm kind of a project guy. I love projects, actually. I am not a project management professional PMP. We'll talk about that. But I've been doing projects for myself all my life. So that's the monologue. So here we go in terms of, monologue. So my project is going to be, my monologue is going to be projects, not my project going to be monologue. All right. So I love projects. I mean, I'm a project guy. I admit it. I love projects and I love, because there's that, a project has a start and then it has the middle, the doing part, and then it has an end. So projects are cool because projects always they always have kind of like a beginning and an end. And then there's that, whole big part in the middle. So as opposed to routine or something that just kind of is like forever, projects always kind of come and go. So that's my I function best when I'm doing projects. You work on something for a while and then you finish it and you'll go work on something else for a while. And so I have a short attention span in terms of being able to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So that's where projects have always been something that have appealed to me. So as a kid, what were the very first forms of projects? I remember building some models. I didn't necessarily like building models per se, like model gluing the stuff together, but I did that sort of thing. Kits. I remember kits. Being a little more fun for me. They were bigger. They weren't models like the plastic airplanes and stuff, but the kits were like, I remember electronic projects that I was fascinated by where you soldered things together onto a circuit board and, you made different things. And so I always liked building things and like a puzzle in a way is a project, a simplistic project. You have the, you open the box and you lay out all the pieces and you get the edge pieces together and then you get the major pieces and so a puzzle is a form of like early projects that as a kid, I ended up doing. Now, my father, he was a project guy. He was a builder. And I grew up, under his influence. And so he was building, like even before I came around, he built a garage and he built the addition to the house. And, I kind of have vague remembrance of the addition to the house. I was still too young and little at the time, but I grew up like with knowing that, first dad built the garage, then he built the addition to the house. And so he was doing this project. Now, when I was 11, 12, 13, my parents bought a property and he built a house, a vacation cabin up in the Pocono Mountains. And for about a 2-year period, I went up there, practically every weekend with him and helped him build it. Now, I was young, so I wasn't capable of really doing the heavy lifting, but I was like involved with it and I was his helper. And that was a project. That was certainly a project because you build the foundation, then you build the floor and then you build the walls and then you build the second floor and then you build the roof. And, it was like, I grew up seeing how these projects worked. And that was the influence of dad. And then I went after high school, I went and worked with dad and it was in a metal fabrication shop. And what they built was these custom projects out of metal, angles and flat steel that they would roll up and cut and weld together and put end caps on them, and weld them all together and put pipes and valves and fittings that come out of them. And, we worked from a blueprint and it was like a project. And some of these projects would take, at minimum, they took weeks and they often took months. And so you showed up to work and you went back and you were like continuing doing this thing. And so it had like a very definitive start. And then, you build it and then eventually you ship it out the door. And once it's shipped out the door, it's like, bye-bye, new project, start a new project. So I always loved doing projects. And it was kind of the opposite of like a production line or, there was factories that made certain things. And, like the Charlie Chaplin, on the assembly line with the wrenches and, that was kind of that never appealed to me, never appealed to my father. And he said that it would never appeal to me. So I don't know whether that would have appealed to me or not, but I certainly grew up thinking that I didn't want to be some kind of a factory line. You think of Lucy and Ethel on the assembly line with the chocolates, the chocolates going by and them eating the chocolates. So that was a production line kind of thing. So monotonous. I worked, at a time like where I had to create these maintenance programs and I didn't mind creating the program or the maintenance schedule, but I didn't actually like doing the actual maintenance part of it, like the routine of like, okay, I got to go back. It's Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month. So you got to go do this sort of thing. And so any kind of maintenance type stuff, doesn't appeal to me quite as much. Cutting the lawn over the years has been like a project. It's like kind of like that's kind of a maintenance thing. And yet, somehow you turned it into like a weekly project to go cut the lawn. And I kind of liked cutting the lawn. It was fun. I was like Forrest Gump driving around on my little tractor, cutting the lawn. And so I enjoyed that. Although now that I'm not I don't have any lawn. I'm like, it's okay. I don't need to cut the lawn. Who cares about the lawn? Let somebody else cut the lawn. All righty. So projects can be thought of as a journey. projects can be thought of a journey. You have to decide what project you want to do, the planning, you collect all the materials, you assemble the materials, and then, I love like sequencing the whole thing, like of a project where you need to start with the big picture in mind, and then you start adding in the details. And first you have to create the frame, and then you add more detail and more detail and more detail, that sort of thing. So, you don't start out with the details, you start out with the big picture always in mind. And what I've learned over the years is I'm better at the planning and the beginning stages of a project. That's where I like spending more of my time, and I love putting my energy into kind of the design of projects, as opposed to the actual execution of projects. I tend to, my attention span tends to, lose interest at the point where, okay, now we just got to actually do all the work. So, I don't know. It's just kind of one of my funny things about, me. I like the designing and the planning better than the actual doing of some of these projects that I've done over the years. All righty. So, let's see. So if you think about the American Gumption Morning Show as a project, it's a work in progress. I'm still figuring this thing out here. I want the variety. One of the things that I said at the very beginning, and then it took me a while to start adding in more of the variety. But the guest, like, that's like something that happens every day or mostly every day. But each particular guest becomes like its own little project. And so you need to identify who would be a good guest. You do some initial research, and then you need to reach out to them and book them, get them scheduled on it. Once you've got them scheduled, you need to, actually do the show prep and figure out exactly, well, what are you going to talk to them about? What's going to be the sequence of it? And then you do the actual show, and then there's some post-production thing. And in between there's marketing and there's communication and all these other details that happen. So each day becomes like its own little project. Creating the show is its own, like every day, it's like kind of a daily project, starting all over again. It's a routine in the sense that it's like you kind of have to go through the same steps every day, but the details of the steps have to get filled in. And so for me, that's a lot of fun. I enjoy that. So it's and it's a little bit like that jigsaw puzzle, like if you're doing what I mentioned early on. So first thing you do is like, well, what puzzle do I want to do? You got a couple different puzzles there. You look at them and you decide, and then you put the edge pieces around, and then you put the major color groups, or you build the face or something, whatever the main center or object is. It's always easier to find those pieces. They might have some certain colors that stick out or patterns. And so you piece all that together. And it's funny, the last couple of months I've gone away with my brother and his wife, and we did puzzles. And so I'm having this idea of the puzzle, and the puzzles are kind of fun, just because it's like an activity, you're doing it. And yet, like when we get down to the very end, there's always these pieces that are left over that all kind of look alike. And it's not quite as much fun at that point, so it's more fun when you're doing the edges, and it's more fun for me when, you're doing the main, picture in it. But then when there's like all the blue sky, or the color that's all the same, some kind of a wall that's like one color, it's not as much fun to do that sort of thing. So you have to kind of persevere, but that's just like any kind of a project. You design it, you lay it out, you create the frame for what it is, and then you start filling in the pieces, and of course it's not completed until you finish it. So as I go forward in my life and in my career, I need helpers to fill in some of the pieces, because I like to focus more on that design part at the beginning. So that's I think that's really all I wanted to talk about today, in terms of the here we go, the projects for this monologue. Is like, hey, projects have a beginning, they have a middle, they have an end, and projects are a journey. It's like they just kind of keep going. And so you have to focus on certain things early on, and then you have to focus on certain things at the end, and then you have to focus on certain or in the middle, and then you have to focus on certain things at the end. So it just kind of keeps going, and it's the journey, and it's really like life, right? It's the journey of life. Are you enjoying the journey, and are you, being present to what needs to be done at any given moment? So like a project with its beginning, you got to focus on the design pieces. In the middle, you focus on, filling in all of the, the main pieces. And then at the end, you fill in all those details. And so that's like what life is like. It's just that journey and that continuous ongoing and doing. So that is the monologue projects for today. And I see Serenity Sam is in the room, in the house. She's in the back room. Let's go ahead and welcome her to the American Gumption Morning Show. And what I'll do first to welcome her is I'll play her theme song. Serenity Sam is in the house. Hello, Serenity Sam. How are you doing?
Oh, hi, Steve. I'm great. I love that tune. I almost can write a song about it. I can feel like lyrics in there.
We'll have to add lyrics to it. That's what we're going to do for sure.
I can feel it because it's proper rocking, isn't it? How are you, Steve?
Doing great. Yeah, doing great. So talking about projects this morning, and we have Stacy King coming up at the bottom of the hour. So we're going to talk about projects, and he is a PMP, a project management professional. So that's going to be fun. We'll dig into the details of that whole story. So what are you doing today? What are you bringing to the American Gumption Morning Show? What is on Serenity Sam's mind? Where is your vibration in this universe taking us this morning?
I'm going straight in, Steve. Going straight up to the top.
All right. The big picture.
Yeah, we're not going through any back doors here. We're going to go straight to source, going straight in. We're going to do a Samtra today. A sound what? I call them Samtras. It's like a mantra, but it's a Samtra. So it's something I've invented.
I love it.
Yeah, it's nothing that's Sanskrit or, yogi or anything like that. But I have written a mantra, which is sort of like a little sort of tune that repeats itself.
Okay.
And a strong, like, spiritual intention to, like, connect.
I love it.
Yeah. So that is what we're going to do.
So it is a Samtra, like a mantra, except that instead of it being, like a typical mantra, it has a Serenity Sam attached to it. So it becomes a Samtra. I love that. So when you first said Samtra, I was like, what the heck is she talking about? All righty. Well, what do we need to do to get you ready to do it?
Well, I'm only just going to change my audio in these settings, and then I shall be ready.
All righty. Very good. Well, this is going to be fun. We will let Sam change the audio settings and get all set to go.
Yeah. Okay, I am ready to rock. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is a Source Energy Samtra. It's all about loving source energy and the whole idea that we are eternal beings in an eternal universe, ever expanding and growing. So you can sing along with me if you want as well. I repeat it and then you sing along with me. So here we go. Yeah. Well, I love source I live a life in love for eternity, for eternity. Alrighty, so let's do it again. Well, I love Source and Source loves me. I live a life in love for eternity. I love Source and Source loves me. I live a life in love for eternity, for eternity. You got it. Here we go again. Well, I love Source and Source loves me. I live a life in love for eternity. Well, I love Source and Source loves me. I live a life in love for eternity, for eternity. And again, our eternity, oh, for eternity, oh, for eternity. Here we go. I am free, I am free. Oh, I am free, I am free. Hey, hey, I'm free, I am free. Oh, yeah, for eternity. Alrighty, you got it. So let's do it again. Here we go. Well, I love Source and Source loves me. I live a life in love for eternity. Well, I love Source and Source loves me. I live a life in love for eternity, for eternity. And again, for eternity. Oh, for eternity. Yeah, for eternity. All right, in the middle part. I am free, I am free, oh, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free, oh yeah, for eternity, for eternity. Woo!
All right.
Yay!
Well, very good.
Very good.
That was super fun.
Thank you for your song, and you come here, you bring original music, you bring enthusiasm, and you bring some recognition that we are all eternal beings. And boy, once you understand that, it makes it a little bit, it makes it more fun living here in time and space.
It takes the pressure off once for me, I mean, these are from the Abraham teachings in particular, just to mention, which I'm well into, and finding them just so empowering and so positive. So, it's very law of attraction based, the music and the concept that we are eternal beings. I just love that. Steve, it takes the pressure off entirely to get things completely right in this one lifetime. And it's very interesting to think that if we've been here for billions of years, that we might have even been a dinosaur. Like I might have been, you might have been a dinosaur. You might have been also a hedgehog. We might have been all sorts of. There might have been a tree. Who knows? If we've been here since the beginning of time, we all might have even been a star, or we might have been a nebula. We just don't know. This is the interesting thing about this idea that if we have been here since eternity began and we're going forward into eternity, it's just fabulous, isn't it?
Well, it certainly makes it more fun, to think about all these things and to imagine them, and then to try to create a life here right now that is more heart-based, more love-based, and we eliminate that the fear word and the fear feeling that unfortunately is too prevalent and traps people.
Not me, Steve. I'm not into it at all.
No,
Well,
you're not. So serenitysam.co.uk is her website, and she is a law of attraction teacher. And of course, we got to know each other the last few months. And what's really fun about the journey that we're on is that we don't know where we're heading with things. Things are always changing. We have the ability to try things, and we also have the ability to go, hey, this doesn't resonate, and this isn't working for me. And so I just think it's great that the journey of what you're doing is, you are like living proof of that. I've interviewed you over a couple different times, and you were a rock and roll drummer in your early career, and now you're really, kind of evolved. That's still a part of who you are, but you've evolved into so much more. So where is Sam going? Where is Serenity Sam taking us in the next few months? What are you envisioning?
I am just a creator. I'm a creator down to the very core, which means that I give myself the right to create whatever I want, whatever I desire. I wake up into that space of, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do, Steve. I don't have to do anything out there. I don't have to do anything for a career. I don't have to do anything because I got to do something. I play it day by day. I mean, it will evolve. I love music so much, and I can see it just going further and further and further. I can see myself coming to America in the next year. I could see myself definitely coming to America, and I would love to perform, and that would be such a fabulous thing. And I'll come and join you somewhere when you're caravanning around and you're traveling and you're doing your thing. I'll come on your show and come on your bus. That's my plan. I'm going to come and see you in the Rocky Mountains or somewhere like that.
You are welcome, and that's going to be the fun of it, and for me, and we talk about the project and the evolution. The vision is to be out there on the road, and of course this last year we just started the show virtually because that was that made the most sense to do. And as we get out there on the road later this year, or when exactly it happens, it's just going to happen. And boy, that would be fun for you to come over from UK and join us. So you're welcome anytime, Serenity Sam, and you're always welcome to be part of this show. And whether we do something regular on an ongoing basis, or as we do something kind of from time to time, we are going to figure that out, and you're going to be part of the show. So that's what I would love to see.
Well, aren't you, Steve? You're going away in a few weeks' time, and so there will be a bit of a break from me coming on the show. And so we'll probably have to retake when you come back and see where everything's up to and what's evolved since then. Because if we come out of lockdown here in the UK, I may start gigging again, which is going to be fabulous to get back on the stages and be out there earning a few quid as well. So we'll have to regroup when you come back and see where we're all up to.
Very good. Now, I haven't talked about my adventure coming up yet, but yes, I am going to take a cross-country trip, kind of a little beta run. I'm going to fly out to California, and I'm going to drive a vehicle back across the country, and I'm going to stop at various places, and it'll be about a 3.5-week adventure, and it's coming up in just about 2 weeks I start. So I haven't talked about it a whole lot yet on publicly, but you've prompted me to go ahead and do it right now. So very good. So we'll see you when I get back from that adventure. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And what's your last words until the next time? What do you want to say to the American Gumption Morning Show audience?
I love Source, and Source loves me. Live a life of love for eternity.
Well, thank you, Sam. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Bless you, Steve. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All righty. Well, there it is, Serenity Sam. Let's go ahead and play her theme song as she and we'll exit her that way. All righty. Well, there was Serenity Sam, and we'll see her in April sometime after I return from my cross-country adventure, which starts on March 17th. I fly out to California, and then I'll be taking my show on the road for about a 3.5 week period, but not living and working on the road, just sort of visiting different people along the way and broadcasting from the various stops. So we'll fill you in on that as it gets a little bit closer. All righty. Now let's go ahead and shift gears. Let's bring our main guest to the show. Stacy King is in the green room, ready to go. Let's see if we can bring him on. Let's see. There we. Well, oops. I'm Stacy. I'm pushing buttons and nothing's happening because I'm pushing the wrong buttons.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm trying to a little nervous coming in behind all that motivation of Serenity Sam.
I wasn't sure if you were going to vibe with the music, but I thought, hey, Stacy signed up, so he's gonna have to just take a dose of Serenity Sam.
No, I can hang in any space.
Very good. Hey, so welcome back to the show. You were here on February 9th, show 123. This is show 137. So it's been like almost a month. And of course, the story that we told, well, I'm going to just read your bio, and then we'll do like a real brief recap of what that was all about. But then we're going to talk about your true love, and that's project management. How's that sound?
Sounds fine.
All righty. So Stacy Lamar King is a retired Marine Corps First Sergeant and accomplished program and project manager. He is a training consultant at PM-ProLearn. There's the website, PM-ProLearn.com. And he is a master instructor in PMP exam preparation. And PMP is Project Management Professional. Stacy has knowledge and experience in business operations, project management, and professional development. He is committed to helping others achieve greatness. Now, a few months ago, Stacy created a post on LinkedIn that caught my eye. And during this post, he talked about a 15-year time period where he had 3 deployments, 2 degrees, 2 certifications, 4 relocations, and a doctorate program. He was running at full throttle. Man, you were in the left-hand lane going down the road as fast as you could possibly go. Might have been even exceeding the speed limit. He did all this while battling PTSD alone without ever seeking any professional help. He crashed and burned. Today, he's 5 years on the other side of that and talking about it. And in fact, that's why we met the first time, is because we talked about that. And again, that happened on show number 123, February 9th. So about a month ago. Stacy King, welcome back to the American Gumption morning show. We don't need to, people can go back and watch that other episode and find out that whole story. But you had the quick summary, you had the warrior mindset, and you just weren't gonna relent. You just kept going and going and going. And finally it kind of caught up with you, and you went, okay, you had like a moment where you went, okay, this can't continue. And you were the squeaky wheel. You wrote President Obama and you said, hey, I need some help, and I'm not getting any help here as a retired military. And you ended up getting a response back, probably not directly from the president, but certainly from his people. And they were like, there was an awareness that things needed to change as far as taking care of our vets. And you were like put into kind of a beta program in Phoenix, one of the VA hospitals, I'm assuming, and you ended up getting some pretty good treatment over a several-year period, and it helped you, and that's really what we all talked about. So what am I missing? What would you like to add to that part of the story at this moment before we talk about project management?
I think you did a good summary. The most important thing is reaching out. And having the moral courage to reach out and say, you know what, if the commander in chief can make something happen, then guess what? Then no one else in this country can make it happen. So I put it right there at their doorstep and ask for the help that I believe that all veterans deserve.
Yeah, good. And it was great that you got it. And really, it was that post that you put on LinkedIn, and I read that and I went, oh my gosh, this guy gets it. He's not he's still a warrior, but he's not, like he's not stuffing it all down any longer. He's letting it, be out there, and he's leading by example. And, I think you probably opened the door for others to do the same thing. So have other vets since then reached out, and has anybody been reaching out to you as a result of that?
Well, that post was amazing, Steve. Like the number of people, both on the military side and on the civilian side, who read it and had the opportunity to pause and reflect and just say thank you for posting that, because you kind of give people the opportunity or the reason to say it's okay to say, like, work isn't everything and work can't be everything. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that a lot of people communicated through that post, just saying thank you for posting that.
Well, it inspired me to reach out and say, hey, would you like to come talk about this publicly? And you did. And I'm really grateful for that. I appreciate that very much. So good. I'm glad to hear it had the positive effect. And you I'm guessing you probably were a little surprised by the response, because you did it more for your own personal benefit than, well, I'll just ask, did the permission it gave others, did it surprise you a little bit?
I was surprised by the number of people who actually responded, because it almost has a dialogue of its own. If I go back and look at it, there's like just several conversations within it, the actual responses to it. So I was surprised by the amount of people who just didn't say, a thumbs up or a heart or happy face. Actually commented with their words, and their words were heartfelt. So I was surprised by that.
I think the key thing was that it was, in using the words of Serenity Sam, it was connected to source, so it was inspired, that your words were inspired. They weren't just Stacy writing a bunch of words on a piece of paper to get attention. It was heartfelt and connected. So good job.
Thank you.
So should we talk about project management?
All day. That's my passion.
So, for people who don't know, PMP, you are a PMP, tell people what a project management professional really does and what it's all about.
Well, a project manager in general, is an individual who gets tasked with taking out a project. It has a definite time period. You have a certain amount of money to spend, and you have work that's very important to the client that needs to be accomplished. And most of the resources that you're going to use don't belong to you. So you're going to put all these things together for a short period of time. You're going to go out there and you're going to do some tremendous things and hopefully make a lot of money for your company and deliver something of benefit into the world. So that's kind of what project management is. The PMP, which is a certification that you obtain, is an indicator that you're operating at a high level in project management. So you're utilizing this standard that was created by the Project Management Institute that says if you follow this standard, then you have a high probability of being very successful at running projects. So when you marry the two together, someone who's passionate about project management, and you connect it to a standard that has been proven to deliver high value project success, then you kind of get this dynamic individual inside your company.
I was thinking about project management, and if you think about it the same way, like traditional education goes, and you look at college degrees, there's people who are finance majors or marketing majors or business majors or accounting majors, but is there such a thing as a project management major? Or is the project managers really just something that kind of happens, like you go to work and if you're, maybe you have a degree in marketing or in business, but you end up getting involved in projects. And the next thing you know, you're managing projects, and the PMP became a result of the fact that there was no designation. So give a little bit of a, historical perspective on how project management has evolved, and is there formal training programs at colleges?
So long story short, so project management probably came out of the defense contracting and private sector. There was a merger back in the 40s. between those two industries, and academia as well. So that you really have like three different areas who claim legacy in project management. At the collegiate level, I really didn't see it. I got my bachelor's degree, and then I got my MBA, but there was project management probably came into the collegiate realm right around the 2005 to 2010 range. We start seeing it. But projects have been running in this country since the 40s and 50s. So it's kind of been there on its own, in its own realm, so to speak. In those three areas I mentioned, the private sector when they merged with defense contracting, and it's gained traction as companies have seen that if I can bring this type of methodology inside my company, I can be very responsive to the needs of the market. So you can stand up a project team relatively quickly, and then stand it down, and then reallocate those resources to other parts of the company. So once companies saw that they had this dynamic gain that they could gain from introducing project management, then you start seeing a trickle down effect. And so colleges start saying that this is something that we can make money at by training individuals at the collegiate level in project management. So,
that's a great example or description of it. Thank you. I didn't realize that you said colleges did actually start, certifying or offering credentials in project management in 2005. So really only in the 15 years. And the fact that it came out of I think it's more of the military who probably, started it. And when the industrial companies, were doing so much work for the military, that's where the merger took place. Is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's very interesting that, project managers, and I love what you said about like you can allocate resources and get a project done. And then, you take those and you reallocate resources. Consequently, there's a lot of freelancers or independents who work in the project management industry. Is that correct?
Independents in terms of specialists, or do you mean consultants?
Consultants.
Yes, it's a huge space. So that's kind of where I hung my hat for about 5 years, as being once you become known in the industry, it's just a unique place that once you are known, people tend to find you because of word of mouth, that you have these unique abilities, and if they trust. So it's all about trust. So yeah, there's room for a lot of specialization. There's room for a lot of freelancers. There's room for a lot of individuals who, to thrive in project management on their own, or if they want to merge, with a group of individuals, like I am currently now with the company I work for, PM-ProLearn. You have a lot of individuals who came out of individual success as project managers who come together to form this unique company that's providing project management training to individuals. So that's another thing that came out of having the experience, is that you get into this craft, you do the work, you're very successful at the work, but you gain a lot of knowledge. And the knowledge that you have now becomes more valuable, almost more than your original abilities as a project manager. I have the ability to train individuals now.
What were you doing when you were freelancing? What kind of projects did you, cut your teeth on or earn your reputation at? And again, this would be after your military career.
So because I did project management here in Charleston, South Carolina for 4 years. So my primary customer was the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of systems engineering type projects and managing, upgrades and refreshes and tactical communications assets, replacements as projects. But when I left that work, when I got into the consulting work, it was more so on the ability to go inside of a company and to assess, to see how well they were performing at project management, and then to identify, areas of weakness, and then help them shore up those areas of weakness, and help, get a team that was operating at a certain level of project management, and then take them to another level of performance through just sharing what I know, and then having the ability, because I just have a unique ability to be able to look at something and find the weak spot and address it. So that's kind of where I hang my hat for consulting.
When you, how long have you been with PM-ProLearn, and where, what's your specialty in terms of teaching? Because I know that your company provides certifications for, and multiple different types of certifications in the project management field. Where is your niche in, helping to train people? Do you have a specialty within that range?
Yes, so my specialty currently is in the PMP. So that's what I've been doing since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I hang my hat, and I would like to believe I'm one of the best in the world that does it. Do I plan on expanding? I'm kind of right there on that cusp of saying, yeah, I'm ready to reach out and get some additional training. So I think the next growth opportunity for me will be getting some agile training so I can add that to my toolbox. But right now, my specialty is PMP.
Yeah, it's funny. There's words. I got some words here I'm just going to throw down. So agile, Scrum, Kanban, lean, extreme programming, XP, test-driven development, TDD. I mean, these are all words that for some reason, I ended up reaching out to a bunch of PMPs a couple of years ago on LinkedIn, thinking that maybe, somehow I could go in and, work in that space. And I kind of, it was an experiment that, didn't necessarily fit my, the direction I was going, but it was like that's how we originally connected. So I remember hearing though all about like agile, Scrum, Kanban, lean, all these words that like initially you go like, what the heck are all those? I mean, what are all those?
Well, there are different methodologies. Most of the words that you did mention were on the agile side of the house. So there's different frameworks that count on the software development community. And what we're seeing right now in project management as a whole is that this merger between the project management, traditional project management, which you might find in things like construction, systems engineering, those type of projects, and agile projects, which came out of software development community. So we're seeing this merger methodologies where we're seeing organizations say that, if I can have a well-rounded project manager, someone who can operate and perform projects on things that we've done consistently a lot, where we know a lot about the work, and I can have that same project manager have the same ability to be able to take on a project that we've never done before, that requires a lot of creation, a lot of discovery, which is on the agile side of the house. You really create what I believe is the next super project manager, this individual who has both abilities. So that's what you're talking about. You're really, those terms are coming from the software development side of the house.
Thank you for clarifying that agile came out of the software development. Talk about the fact that software originally was just people coding people, where they were sort of somehow somebody was trying to be an orchestra leader, but then it became this is highly inefficient. And we need to break these projects into sort of component pieces and then still have them so people can go in and be productive, but then have them all fit together. And then agile came from that. Is that that's my understanding, but I have no idea if I'm right or not. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. So you can do a lot of work, and you can do a lot of work for a long time very poorly. And I think that any community that comes together, I think they had a meeting of the minds, and what came out of that meeting was called the Agile Manifesto, which is really a set of principles that kind of established a framework of how they're going to perform agile projects. It will be very similar to what we would have on the predictive side of the house, which is we have a PMBOK, a project management body of knowledge. And so I think that both industries or both sides of project management came to this conclusion that we can perform projects much more efficiently if we have a framework that we're working within. But I like to call it standard work. So if we can have standard work, which says that we all do the work the same way consistently, then we can see growth and we can see improvement.
I remember, and again, this is a year or two or three when I read about this, but it seems like like software development was such that like they go, okay, we want this project, and then like engineering or management or marketing, somebody says, hey, we want this project, we've sold it to the customer, and then some engineering and software development comes back and goes, okay, it'll take us a year to development, and then they go, oh, okay, and then like they would go away and there'd be like no communication for a whole year, and then they'd come back and the thing didn't work anywhere near what it was supposed to. So the idea of this agile creation was that like we gotta be paying attention day in and day out to the progress we're making, because we can't wait for a whole year to find out that you guys went down the wrong path from day one. It was kind of a crazy story. Am I making that up, or am I remembering correctly?
Well, I can't confirm or deny what you're saying. I can only say that with software and the time to market, that there's a sense of urgency. And so what has been indicated, and I think what came out of that community, was that we can miss the market, right? So you can't take forever to create. So I think the sense of urgency is what came into the equation, whereas we have to have a team that can have a structured way of doing the work, operate in this, space of ambiguity. We don't really know what the end looks like, but we have to be able to get to the end with a sense of urgency. So I think those three things kind of came together, and that's what you saw on the far side of that what may have been like in the past, but the present is like that they have a standard, they have highly skilled people, and because they have the standard and highly skilled people, they can be very responsive and they can respond with urgency to meet that need in the market, because software changes so fast.
I kind of grew up in the regular traditional project management that maybe other people are familiar with. And that's like, building a building. Okay. You have a blueprint, you have a design, and you're going to order a whole lot of materials, and you need to schedule them all coming in, and you build the foundation, and then you just start, going up, and so like people have seen that happen. What's happened in that field and that space over the last 10, 20 years to, kind of modernize and bring that up to a next level?
I think really buying into certification. So once again, a lot of companies are running project management, as a way of doing business, but they weren't necessarily vested in getting their individuals, project managers, certified to become better. So what I've seen, what's taken off on a predictive side of the house, is just this huge influx of PMs going out and getting certified. And then once you obtain the certification, it kind of lights a spark that says that now I know some things that I didn't know previously. And you go back in to your regular job, you start experimenting with the things that you learned. And so that's what I've noticed on the predictive side of the house, is that getting the certification gave you an access to a different way of thinking. And then you took that different way of thinking back into the workplace. And the one thing I know about business is that if you want people to follow you, you got to be successful. And so if you, as a PM, can take these things into the workplace and you start outperforming your peers, then naturally individuals are going to see the value in that certification and start applying those techniques.
Yeah, that's it's I guess the more you learn, right, the more we are exposed to new ideas, then the more we come back and we start experimenting, and the certification process is giving people who became competent at doing their job a certain way new ways of looking at it, so that they could come back and try other things. Do like smaller companies feel the need to have someone certified, or is it the larger companies, or who's getting certified? Is it like more one group or more another group?
Well, I think you see it across the board. I don't think it's something that's unique to like company size. I think that those companies who have forward-thinking leadership see the value in it. And what they really see is like, I'm really getting the abilities of like 3 people in one person. So you become this force multiplier inside of a company. So I don't think it's restricted to the size of the company. It's really restricted to the leadership thinking, how that leadership group thinks at the top, and how they value individual performers, because we're dynamic people, and you just don't find us just hanging out on bus stops. These are very dynamic, very unique individuals who can absolutely change the fortunes of a company.
What does, talk about what skills does a good project manager have? Not necessarily someone who's been certified, but what are the characteristics, maybe the personality characteristics of a good project manager?
Great listener. So it starts with listening, your ability to listen, because in listening, you're going to hear everything that you need to know to perform well. So for example, through listening, I can acquire or identify all the requirements for what you need in your job, in your product or service that I'm creating for you. But it's just not listening to the customer. I got to listen to the customer. I got to listen to my team. I got to listen to the individual stakeholders who support us. So for me, it all starts with listening, ability to listen. People skills. Can you sell a vision? And it starts with, because we try to build these collaborative teams. And what is collaboration other than getting a group of people who are individuals to come together and to work for the better of the group and better of the company? So can you get an individual to believe that the work that they're doing is very important and that they are very important? And I think when PMs had that ability to sell that and to prove that to their team members, then they create these dynamic teams that go out and just perform at a very high level. So listening and I guess you could say selling. You can sell the vision, you can sell the mission. I think those two are very unique skill sets. Not saying that we're not masters at business, but at a high level, you can be very good at business, but if you can't sell this vision and you can't listen attentively to hear what the stakeholders are saying, then your business acumen can only take you so far.
From the C-suite of a company, who directs projects? Is it it's certainly not going to be the CEO directly involved with it, but do you see the need for, the highest levels of management to be involved in shaping, what these project managers are working on, and how do they fit in? What part of the organization do they fit into?
Well, it's unique in that as a PM, because you're giving because so much is entrusted into your hands in terms of the company's bottom line. Like a project manager, I was always known by name at corporate. They're going to know all the project managers by name because you're giving such a big piece of the company's bottom line at the end of the year to hit, that you're known. But in terms of who's managing project managers, what we've seen is most companies have gone through this progression where project managers may have traditionally come in through the doors and they actually fell under the supervision of operational managers. Mm-hmm. But as we saw companies start to bring in more revenue through their pipelines, through projects, then we see the shift where we establish this almost like its own standalone entity of project management within a company. It's kind of like a companion to operations. Mm-hmm. That's what we tend to see. And as we have developed, then we saw individuals rise up that chain to those C levels and those higher levels of management inside these organizations. But you kind of have to work your way through the progression of, has project manager come in the door and has it proven itself inside the company? Yes, if it has, then you take that next leap where you establish kind of like this management piece of project management that's coexists along with the operational side of the house. And once we see this significant shift in terms of revenue being brought into the doors through project management, you kind of see the shift in power at the higher levels of management within a company to start bringing on these individuals who came out of that community.
Yeah, that's great. The idea that the future of the company is really entrusted with you guys, and so that you equated it to like a revenue bottom line, but it's it's like, and of course the revenue is going to be the future of it, but so much things have to happen to make that revenue hit in terms of structure pieces, and that's what you guys are working on. So it's kind of a fun. I guess it's if you're someone who's very risk adverse, you're probably not going to be a very good project manager. You gotta live a little bit on the edge there, don't you, Stacy?
Right. You gotta think out of. I always call it. We're constantly thinking out of the box, right? So we call it this lateral thinking, just to think of different ways to be more efficient, because it's all about doing more with less with each year, and with each project. Can I do more with less? Can I generate more value for the money that I'm spending? So we're always constantly. I don't think PMs ever turn off, to be honest. I think we're always thinking of a better way to do something.
Right. You might be sitting at your desk actively like making notes and writing things down, but like when you're driving in the car, there's like the wheels are turning in terms of like, well, maybe I can do this and maybe I can do that. And hopefully not when you're sitting at the dinner table with your beloved ones, you've turned it off at that point, but I imagine some of that still goes on.
Well, eventually you get to that level, but when you're new to it, you're constantly going. So and they can see it in your eyes that you're not there. But yeah.
All right, very good. Well, hey, this is a fun conversation. I appreciate your being willing to kind of talk about it. I hadn't, I've always loved projects because there's a beginning, there's like a middle, and there's an end, and I have kind of I have a bit of ADD where, like if I do something for too long, I just sort of get bored with it. And so projects always gave me the opportunity to, stay focused on it because, there is a beginning, there is a middle, and there is an end always to these things. And so, and you have to have different thinking. Maybe that's a good way to kind of wrap up here. What different mindsets do you use? Like, as you are beginning a project and then you're more in the middle of a project and then you're towards the end of it, have you seen people have to shift their thinking in order to get through each of those phases?
Absolutely. So, and it really depends on the complexity of the project and, how familiar are we with the work. So if you're dealing with something very complex and it's something that we are new to doing, you're going to work very hard in that first phase, taking that car out the driveway. So you're going to work very hard. You're going to be very engaged. You're going to have a lot of hands-on with that team. You're going to provide a lot of direct, guidance and instruction. That's particularly on the predictive side of the house. But as a team matures, so your ultimate goal is to create what we call this self-directed team, where the team almost operates with very little oversight. Mm-hmm. And so that's your goal, is to get them to that stage. So the quicker you can get them there, and the longer you can sustain them there, the more revenue you're going to generate for that particular project. So that's the ultimate goal. It's always going to be money driven, but the pride goal, or the pride of project managers, is I want to be known as a developer of high caliber talent that can outperform plans. And so when you get them there, that's kind of like when you can take a pause and you can pull back. Because if you're working full throttle the whole project, you never have the opportunity as a PM to develop yourself. And that's one of the things that I've learned, is that you've got to always be evolving along with your team. And so that's kind of the payoff. If I can work very hard in that first, we'll call it the first third of the project, I can get this team to this point where they're performing at a high level. Then I can take the time to develop myself so that I'm always able to perform at a high level to meet them where they're at. And you almost coast. You want to get to the point where you can almost coast to the end. And that only happens when you create that high performing team in that second, we'll call it that second stage.
Because you have other people who are like stepping in and really excelling at that middle phase and at that ending phase. Those people are better at those particular jobs. So you don't have to focus on it. You focused your energy on that, getting the whole project and the team kind of like off to the races, so to speak. And then these other people are kind of filling in behind you with the skills that they have. Is that correct?
Well, you want to think of it like as being like this, like the head coach of a football team. Mm-hmm. Like I'm gonna really spend a lot of time like developing those assistant coaches. And so you really put your energy into that, and they put the energy into the actual frontline workers on the project, at least on the predictor side of the house. And that's where I came from. So my whole point was, I'm going to pour my energy into this, my middle managers, which we'll call them task managers and leads. Mm-hmm. And they're going to evolve. Ultimately, one or two of them is going to show me that they're ready to take the next leap. And I'm going to really pour a lot more energy into them to get them to the level where they can actually sit and interview for a project management role in the future. So it's kind of like a trade-off. Like I pour a lot of energy into those managers, and ultimately those managers are going to take that team to the end of the road. As the CEO or the head coach of the overall operation, just make sure that we keep the thing on the tracks. We don't crash and burn. So that's kind of the trade-off.
Yeah, you don't ever see the coach running out on the field and doing any plays that they're all his work is like long finished by the time the game is actually being played. So right. Well, that's great. Well, thanks, Stacy. This has been fun. I enjoyed it. I love projects, and I've always considered myself a project guy, just because, like I said, I need a lot of different things around. What's the last question I'll ask? What's the kind of time, like what kind of a project, like timeline or length is kind of the right thing for you? Is like, do you like 6-month projects, 3-month projects, 1-year projects? I mean, and I'm sure you've done them all, but what's like kind of the perfect amount for you in terms of like keeping your attention where you can just perform really well?
I think that 12 months to 18 months, once you get beyond that window, then a team of high performers, then you could run into a lot of friction. I just think that you can only get a team to operate at that high threshold of performance for about 12 to 18 months before they need to go do something different. So that's it for me. When I'm 18 months and beyond, I'm already looking for something different.
And I guess if it's only a 3 to 6 month, is that like child's play? That's not considered a real project, or?
Well, I think it's something that you will put someone who's like new to the trade, right? That's something they can cut their teeth on a 3 to 6 month project without doing a lot of damage to the company if they're not performing at a high level.
All righty. Well, very good. Well, good. I'm going to give you the last word. Anybody who's considering getting their PMP, what would you suggest to them? And obviously they could reach out to PM-ProLearn.com, or you're on LinkedIn. They can reach out to you directly that way. But what would you say to someone who's considering, getting some more, formal education or certification to enhance their career?
Well, I think if they're serious about project management training and taking that next step, I work for all the major companies in providing project management training on this globe. But this is the best company that I've ever worked for in terms of ensuring that the instructors that they place in front of students and the curriculum that they teach the students is at a high level. So if they want to take the next step and they want to get trained, but they want to get trained by people who are very skilled, then I don't think there's a better place they can go than PM-ProLearn to get this training that they're going to need.
We'll leave it at that. But I also want to just give credit to you. You are one of the, one of the premier trainers within this premier organization. So we are lucky and fortunate to have Stacy, you here today, sharing this, because this has been a great conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Always, man. I love talking to you, Steve. It's always a good time.
All righty. Well, thank you. Have a great day. We appreciate your joining us this morning.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Okay. Well, that was Stacy King, came back again, and what a great guy! Just because he loves what he's doing, but I also it's a human being who went, had been working hard for all his career, and then finally was like, I got to readjust things. If I'm gonna do this for another 20 years, I got to take better care of myself, mentally. And he got the help, and he went and did it, and we shared that story. So go back and watch show number 123 to hear that whole part of it. But today we learned about the technical aspects of project management and being a PMP. And we have Bettina checking in with us this morning and telling us her experience as, she did some certification. So Yeah, it's awesome. And Lorraine also joining us or just checking in and saying hello. So thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate that. Alrighty, that's it, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this show up. And we'll get out of here. I'm changing dials and trying to find the right buttons. Alrighty. So, let me tell you what's happening. Tomorrow, Jay Toops returns, and he's going to talk about part 2 of the technology and the social and political will needed to make his project get off the ground. And that's converting waste carbons to alcohol fuels and higher level alcohols that could be used as specialty chemicals. And next week, Angie LaRue joins us on Tuesday for Crystals, Advanced Healing, and Quantum. It's a woo warning. We're going into the woo world on Tuesday. So, alrighty, everybody, have a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow.